So guys, I'm just waiting from my colleague. She's going to allocate a link to a video, and then we're ready to go ahead.
Cool, exciting.
Yes, indeed.
Great, thank you for your opinions, and maybe you still have some questions to each other, because it would be great to have some discussion among you, in case you have some ideas to discuss.
I think we're ready to go. So, guys, thank you very much for joining us, and we have an awesome lineup of speakers for that session, and I'm very excited to introduce our very first speaker in that section, and that's going to be Laura Cremans. And I'm sure, guys, you're familiar with her. She speaks at a lot of different conferences. She mostly does sessions about public relations and link acquisition. And actually, if you're interested in learning more about her approaches, I highly recommend you to join Brighton SEO in-depth training that you can do easily. And beside that, Laura works for a very well-known agency, Branded 3, and she like, you know, that's kind of a person that you definitely meeting on different conferences, as well as like she contributes a lot to our community. And she's going to talk about 9 tried and tested link acquisition tactics for success. So for sure, it's about PR and link acquisition. Laura, the floor is yours. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Alex, for such a nice introduction. Can you see my screen okay?
Yes, I do.
Okay, perfect. So as Alex said, I'm Laura. I'm comms director at Branded 3. Essentially look after anything PR or social media for the agency. And also, as Alex kind of touched on, I've done the link building training or digital PR training. It's gone through various names for the last 3 years now at Brighton SEO. And one of the main things that people are always interested there is in the actual kind of case studies of campaigns that we have run or we have seen that have successfully generated links. So when Alex kindly asked me to do a session today, I thought that that would be probably one of the most interesting things that I could share, especially as we're kind of coming into 2017, just taking a look at where link building's kind of come from, things that are still working and hopefully will continue to work into 2017 and beyond. So first of all, link building's been around for years, much longer than I've been in the industry. I've been in SEO since about 2012. So link building's been going on way before that. I come from a PR background, so that was my background that I brought to Branded 3, kind of with this idea of, will PR help SEO? You know, is it going to support the clients that we have and generating results for them? So it's been around for years, and if we take a look at this from Google Trends, we can see very high search volume back in 2011, a lot of interest in link building, but then kind of generally decreasing from there. So what happened in 2012? I said that I joined the industry. I'm not the cause of the death of the link building trend, obviously, but this is what happened. Penguin came along, slapped everyone down for all of the really bad techniques that they've been able to get away with. So those kind of pre-2012 techniques aren't ones that I'm familiar with, because as I said, didn't work in the industry then. But that's kind of what's happened. And then what we've seen, this is probably a graph that's familiar to a lot of people, and it's shared around quite a lot now, but we see that this link building trend kind of dies down in 2012. And this trend that had been growing for content marketing really takes off from there, which is obviously an interesting chart for us to look at. November 2012 is the point at which it crosses and content marketing overtakes link building, and we can see that content marketing has just kind of gone up from there. One of the questions that I get asked quite a lot, or I see kind of bandied around a lot, is this one. So we see that chart, we see that content marketing is on the rise. You see people like me, PRs, coming into the industry talking about how we build links. And people say, okay, so has content marketing, digital PR, have they replaced link building? And I kind of say, well, yes, PR and content marketing can equal links. So yes, it can result in link building. But actually digital PR and content marketing is about so much more than just link building. So it's about brand awareness, it's about brand love and brand loyalty, it's about influencing people and changing their opinions, and ultimately it can be about sales as well. So it's important not to just look at digital PR and content marketing as a link acquisition or link building technique, because it's much more than that in itself. But I think it's also not to think of it just as the only link building or link acquisition technique. Now I'm going to talk about today kind of the techniques we use within my team, within the PR team, to build links. But I don't think that these are the only ways to build links. And there's some fantastic articles out there that still show really relevant ways to build links that are beyond the kind of realms of PR and content marketing. Things like working with partners. If you're if you have kind of physical stores in shopping centres, airports, places like that, it's still very valid to get links from them. It's not a PR activity to contact them to get the links, but it is a genuine and a relevant way to get links. So I don't think that PR and content marketing have necessarily replaced link building, but I do think they're a good source of link building, and especially because they bring about all these other benefits that I've just touched on. So they're definitely worth investing in terms of generating links. But so on to link acquisition is hard. So I've talked about the fact that there were these tactics pre-2012, and I wasn't there, I don't know, but to me it sounds a lot easier. It sounds a lot easier than what we're doing today. You could spend some money and get someone to put a link up for you, and you didn't get penalised for it really until 2012. You got away with it. You could spin some content through a content spinning website, get that up there, get some links. It was a lot easier, and talking to people that were doing that, it was a lot easier. But it's harder now in 2016. There's various reasons for that. There's bloggers being hit by manual penalty warnings from Google. So bloggers are scared to work with you. There's publishers being squeezed from every angle in terms of how they generate revenue. So they're reluctant to add links into articles because of Google, but also because of if they added different types of links and advertising instead, they can make money from them. So there's all different reasons that mean that link acquisition is quite hard in 2017. And it's probably not going to get any easier in 2017, which all sounds terribly negative, I know. But there are things that do work. So I don't think it's all doom and gloom. I don't think link building is dying and that we're not going to be doing it into next year and the years after. But there's certain tactics that work, and that's what I thought I'd go through today. So what does work? First of all, newsjacking. Newsjacking is a technique that we use for a lot of our clients at Branded 3. A lot of financial ones in particular, we find it works really well for. And there's kind of an easy process to follow for this. So first of all, newsjacking is essentially, for anyone that's not familiar with the term, it's taking a look at what's on the news agenda or what you can predict will be on the news agenda, and then finding a way to insert someone from your client or your company if you're internal, trying to find a way to put them in that story. So for example, in the autumn statement that we had a few weeks ago, there's all different stories that come out of that in terms of what that means for the UK. There's all different reasons that a client can talk about it. You can talk about if your customers are pensioners, you can talk about how what they've said is going to affect pensioners. There's lots of relevant ways to put yourself in that conversation. So this is the process that we go through. So the first step in this really is identifying an internal expert that's credible and can talk about the issues that you identify, and then creating an author page for that person. There needs to be a reason that a journalist would want to link to you, and having an author page that explains all about why this person is an expert, you know, how long they've been working at the company, what they contribute to the industry, other snippets of information from them that aren't just links. That works really well as an author page. The next step then is to build a calendar of potential events, and I put that in inverted commas because I'm not talking about, you know, specific events that you would go to as an offline event. I'm talking about all different things that can happen throughout the year, announcements that you know are made, for example, when people do their annual general meetings. Those kind of things are events that you can target with comment. Next step is to proactively contact journalists ahead of the event with either predictions ahead of events. So, you know, we think that this is what the impact is going to be of the autumn statement. Would you be interested in a comment on that? Or offering live commentary. So we know that you'll be covering the autumn statement. Would you be interested in some commentary live throughout it? to add context, because a lot of journalists have to cover live blogs of these events, and it's hard for them to fill them. If they're watching, someone reading out a statement, they've still got to be putting content in there. So if you can offer them expert insight, they love that and they're more likely to cover it. So that's kind of a proactive approach to newsjacking. And then there's the reactive, so monitoring the stuff that you can target from a reactive perspective. One of the examples I normally use for this, which is a bit of an older one now, but it's still quite a relevant one, is when Alex Ferguson announced that he was stepping down from managing Man United. That was something that we couldn't have planned for. It couldn't have been in a calendar. But what it meant was, if he stepped down, it had a massive impact on Manchester United's share price. And we have experts, financial experts at our clients, that can comment on what we expect the impact on share price will be for Alex Ferguson stepping down as the Manchester United manager. So it's that kind of stuff as well. It's being ahead, planning ahead, building yourself a calendar, but then also constantly monitoring the news agenda and spotting those opportunities that come up, those little gems that you can target from your clients. We built something, I promise this is the only plug for ourselves, but we built this PR calendar because we create these internally for all different kind of categories of things that we might want to newsjack or build campaigns around. So if you have a look on our site, you'll be able to find this. If you want to, you can then download the events into yours if you want kind of a starting point for ideas of things that you can newsjack. This is the one for January 2017. So an idea here, you've got Blue Monday on the 16th of January. That's kind of the one where apparently everyone's depressed, all the bills are coming through from Christmas, it's ages till payday. There's all sorts of things that you can do to target that with a campaign or a story. And this is an example of how it works. So this is for SpreadX. This is the author page that I was talking about that we've created for their internal expert. And then these are just examples of the kind of websites and publications that then take our commentary on various events that are happening. You can see that they're quite varied in terms of what we comment on. It's everything from your usual kind of national papers here in the UK, like The Guardian, The Express, to very niche specific ones like Beer Today, food manufacturer, because there's all different niches that we can target, opening up plenty of opportunities for us to generate links. So that's newsjacking. Thought leadership is kind of similar to newsjacking, but it's taking it a step further. So with newsjacking, all we're really offering is a short comment from our client in terms of, we think this is the reaction to that event. And it's just a short comment, maybe a paragraph or two on what we think. Thought leadership's taken that a bit further and it's doing something a bit more in depth, but still all around this building expertise. So for this, it's all about identifying the areas that it makes sense for you to talk about. And I've highlighted makes sense there because there's probably a whole realm of things that you could write about. But if you're selling an expert, it has to make sense that they would talk about that subject. There's no point trying to put someone forward for something if actually it makes no sense that they'd be talking about that particular topic. So think about what makes sense and make sure you stick to that and have a credible reason for putting them forward. An example of where we did this for one of our clients, so Power Now are a conference calling company, and so they heavily promote flexible working, both in terms of people being able to work different hours, as well as people being able to work remotely from different locations. And one of the things that we found, so I'm based in London, but before I actually moved here, I used to visit quite a lot. And especially before we had our office here, I'd have meetings with clients, but then I'd need to work. And because we didn't have an office, it was trying to find somewhere to go. And it's an issue that a lot of people face when they're going to different cities, London being a key one, knowing where they can actually get work done when they're not in the office. So it makes sense for them to talk about, where are these locations that you can work from? So we came up with this idea called the Smarter Working Guide to London. Essentially what this is a PDF guide that you can download from their website, and it takes you through East, West, Central, North, South London, with various different types of locations that you might want to work from in those areas. And it gives you a bit of a profile about where that place is and why it's good to work from there. The way we collated this was by getting people to send them in on Twitter. So we did a big call out on Twitter saying, send us the places that you like working from in London, and we're going to compile the best into a book. So we got users to send us their recommendations. We also surveyed their customers who are heavily London based to find out where they like working for in London. And we visited some of the places and got a feel for them ourselves so that we could write the profiles about them. And then we created this piece that we could then, again, promote. So in terms of them, they're targeting business customers, business sites. So these are the places that it makes sense for us to target, places like HR Grapevine, Engage for Success. They're the places that we want to get links from. It's all about relevancy and where it makes sense for us to be talking about this stuff. That doesn't necessarily make sense for us to talk about something that's a Smarter Working Guide to London. It doesn't make sense for us to be trying to get that into necessarily even national publications, because so many of their readers won't work in an industry where they get to work remotely. What we want to do is target the places that are relevant to have those conversations. So that's an example of how you can kind of use thought leadership to get links for clients. And that works especially well for, as with Power Now, for the more B2B clients where you don't do, it's harder to do kind of a sexy or singing or dancing campaign. What you need to do is show why you're the expert and why people should come to you. The next tactic I've got is visualizing our own data. So data is something in general that just works wonders. I mean, data journalism's been on the rise for years, and there's people with that as their specific job title now. It works really well. If you think about the headlines that you read, how many of them feature data? X% of Brits think this, X% of the US think this about the election. It's everywhere that you read. So it makes sense to use data in our own campaigns. And there's different ways of using data that you can go down, different routes. This was one of the first data visualizations that I really liked when I first got into the industry. Some of you may be familiar with it. It was by Love Honey, and they did the UK sex map, which is a bit risque, but basically they took their own data of where was buying different products from their website and just plotted it across the UK. And it did absolutely phenomenally in terms of links, in terms of coverage. It was absolutely amazing. Sadly, they've taken it down now, so if you visit the link, you won't be able to find it. This is the only screenshot that I could find. But that was something that I remember when I came into the industry thinking, wow, that's awesome. That works really well. Just taking that data that they've already got, they've not created that data especially for this. They've just looked at what they've got internally and how actually that is an interesting story to the public, because we're all a bit nosy. We all want to know what's going on. And we've kind of taken that and replicated it with some of our own clients. So an example here is Transform, who are a cosmetic surgery client. They wanted to do something to show that they're the experts in the cosmetic surgery industry, but they wanted to do something that didn't just play on the usual things that cosmetic surgery companies often do, which is the celebrity angle. They wanted to do something that showed real people, and it wasn't just kind of these aspirational bodies that you'd be aiming for. It was, you know, the real things that people are concerned about and might want to change about themselves. So what we did for this is we took the last 4 years of their inquiry data, so not sales data, it's not commercially sensitive, we're not giving anything away. This is just people that have inquired about different procedures, and we essentially mapped it across the UK. So you can go on the drop down, select the place that you are. So I've gone for East London, that's where I'm based. You can select the different procedures across the right-hand side and see how many inquiries there's been for that exact procedure in your area. What you can also do is look at case studies for those people. So you can look at real patient stories to find out what those people thought that had that procedure in that place. And what that meant was that all these big national tabloid places that their exact target audience want to link to that, they want to share it, they want to embed it. Because people are interested in that kind of thing. We created headlines like Blackpool's the boob job capital of the UK. We also worked out where was top for Botox and all the other procedures. We arranged an exclusive with The Sun on Sunday to launch it. And then we also went out to different regional publications to show, okay, in Manchester, this is the percentages for you. So it means that regional newspapers are interested in that kind of data as well. And when you do something like a map, that regional angle is really important because there's a whole wealth of links and coverage for you to go after there. We also did it for another client. So this is Payplan. They're a debt management company. And what we did with them was we took their debt assessments and mapped them across the UK, because their whole messaging at the time there was a big worry about people that are in debt and seeking debt advice often feel like they're alone, and they're like, oh, I'm the only one that's got myself into this situation and I'm never going to get out of it, and they're really worried about it. So what we wanted to do is show that actually, no, you're not. So if you look at this one, I'm looking at London here, in the specific postcode area. There's over 1,000 people that have had debt advice in that area. So I'm not alone at all if I'm looking at that. And I can also see the average debt value per person, how many IVAs or different things. So I can see, actually, I'm not alone. I should pick up the phone. I should get advice, because look at all these other people that have done that. So it's about helping people to understand that they're part of something. So it feeds into being nosy, but it also feeds into that kind of human emotion of wanting that kind of verification that you're not alone. And again, these are all the places that covered it. So the nationals went with the headlines for where the capital of the UK was, the regionals went with other things, Credit Today, financial sites went with different angles. You can cut the data up in different ways to appeal to different people and enable you to get lots of different links, lots of different pieces of coverage, which are really great. And the reason that it works is that people like exploring stats and facts about their area, and they like to feel like they're not alone. They want to know that I'm not the only one that wants a boob job, or I'm not the only one that's in debt. That's what people like to know before they're going to take the next step, importantly, in terms of converting or going down the inquiry route for either of those kind of products. So I've kind of gone through a couple of maps there, so that brings me nicely onto maps. But what I've shown you there is maps that are all about data, but maps don't have to be about this. So this is another example that we did, which is a National Treasures campaign. So the way this works, this is a map that's also a quiz, and I'll come on to quizzes in a bit. But essentially what this does is it tests your knowledge of where different places are in the UK. There's no data in here. It's not saying X% of people can pick this at this stage. All it's saying is, can you find Warwick Castle? And you have to click on the pin, and if you get it correct, it'll tell you correct, and you'll get a score at the end of it. But there's no data involved in terms of that. But what we can do is we can collect the data in the back end to look at how many people can get it right if we want to. So correct answer, that was such a fluke that I got that right at the time. I'm not going to tell you how many attempts that took usually for me to get it. My geography is not my strong point. But that works really well. People like quizzes. So these is all the coverage again, all these national places wanting to share the fact that here's this quiz that tests whether you know British landmarks. So just in itself, being a map that tests your knowledge without any data behind it does work. So people like testing their knowledge, and they like sharing if they get things right. So this is another important thing. People are really egotistical at the heart of things. So if I get 10 out of 10 on that quiz, I'm going to share that I got 10 out of 10 because most of my friends know that my geography is rubbish. If I actually get 10 out of 10 on a quiz, that's pretty good for me. It's the same psychology as all the BuzzFeed ones. So, you know, which Disney princess are you? Yeah, I'll share that I'm Belle because Belle's my favourite princess and that's the one that I got. And the same with all the Harry Potter ones, sharing what house. People like sharing when they get things right or when they get the result that they wanted. And that's why things like that work. So moving on to quizzes in general. There's all different ones that we can do. So this is an example that we did for Halfords called How Roadworthy Are You? So what we wanted to do was put to bed that age-old question that people say in terms of, could you still pass your driving test today? So you've been driving 5 years now, you think you're an amazing driver, but could you actually pass your driving test? Because a lot of people say when you learn to drive, all you actually do is learn to pass your test. You don't actually learn to drive until after you've passed your test. So what we wanted to do is see how many people actually remember the things that go into their driving test after they've been driving for a while. So we created this quiz that asked you where you were in the country, how old you were, how long you've been driving, and then it asked you questions like this. So when on the motorway, which lane should you use? And you, again, have to select the correct answer. But again, this is really interesting for people. So a lot of people want to talk about this. And want to embed it, want to talk about how many people fail. So again, this is kind of a double-edged campaign. So we've got the first part, which is just the fact that we've created this quiz, it's interesting, people want to play it, but then we've also got the data that we've captured behind it. So 61% of UK motorists aren't actually roadworthy from taking our quiz. That's the kind of data and creative asset that works really well. This is another example, we did it for Ladbrokes quite a while ago now. This was tapping into people's football passions. So looking at, for your team, how well do you actually know them? Because you always have those people that talk about glory supporters for different types of teams. It doesn't just happen in football, all different sports, or I should say soccer, since we've got US people on this as well. This is kind of testing, well, do you actually know your club, or are you just a glory supporter? Do you support them superficially? So So you answer 10 questions, you get a score, but then what we do is what you can see here, we rank you in a league table. So actually, at the time that I took this screenshot, Southampton fans know the most about their team, tied with quite a lot of other teams, but some of the bigger teams actually feature further down. So a lot of their fans don't really know that much about them. The data from the quiz is what forms the story. So as you saw from the Halfords example, the fact that over half of people would fail their test is interesting. From this, the fact that at the time that we were going out with the PR story, it was Crystal Palace that were top. They were actually bottom of the real Premier League. So that was kind of a funny story in terms of top in terms of fan knowledge, but bottom in terms of player performance. And then again, we've also got that regional angle that we can go after. So in that table, we've got Everton and Liverpool United, which are two rival football teams. We can show the difference between how well each of them know their team, and the same for other rivalries. So we've got the London rivalries we can go after. We've got the Manchester rivalries we can go after. These kind of things open up so many different opportunities in terms of websites that we can target with the data and with the asset that we've created. And it's the ego that makes people share their scores, as I've said. It was the same when it's whether you're roadworthy, whether you know the UK, whether you're a Disney princess. It's the same as whether you know your football team. If you get 10 out of 10 for your football team, you're going to want to share that. You're going to want to challenge your mates. Could you get it for your team? It's ego that makes us do it. So moving on to surveys, so sticking on the data theme, a lot of the time what we hear from people is, oh, well, that all sounds great, but we don't have any data, or we don't necessarily have enough budget to create a quiz, or we can't do a quiz for whatever reason. You don't have to have your own data. If you don't have your own data, or you can't share your own data for whatever reason, you can buy it. There's plenty of survey companies out there that you can work with. Google has Google consumer surveys, really cheap and easy to set up. Over here we use a company called OnePoll, but there's plenty all over different countries. You'll be able to find a survey company. And the good thing about that is you get the exact data that you want. So you supply the questions, you say, this is what I think we need to make this story work, and that's exactly what you get back. So this is another example that we did looking at, we were talking about there's more to the UK than London. So a lot of people see the UK and just see it as London, but there's actually a lot more. So we surveyed people on what they knew about the UK outside of London, and then created this map where you can explore different things and it'll tell you stuff about the UK. And this opens up, again, lots of different avenues for us. So we've got all the stats from the survey that people will talk about. We've got the actual fact that you can explore the map and see different places that you can eat, for example. And that really works really well because it captures people's attention. They want to explore that stuff. And we've got data that we can target different niches. So we can go to music people with our One Direction question, and TV sites. We can go to the Indie Star wanted to talk about the food angle of things that you can eat across the UK. Again, through that, we've thought about the different niches of websites that we can go to, and then carved up our seeding list accordingly. The important thing to note on this, though, is that you still need to create something worth linking to. So stats from a survey will get you coverage easily. As I said, you're constantly seeing these headlines of X% of people think this, but it's the creative that will get you the link. So it's the fact that we've created something that people can go and explore that means that we'll get links, as opposed to just having some stats that people can write about without actually covering the asset that we've created. So user-generated content, another thing that works really well for us. So you don't have to create everything yourself. It can take a lot of effort commissioning a survey or analysing all your data. You don't have to do that. You can get your fans or your bloggers to help as well. User-generated content's been another buzzword for quite a while. So an example of where we've done this for cotton traders, we did an advent calendar for them. So quite a simple concept. It's one that everyone recognises. And essentially what we did is we worked with various bloggers to give their kind of Christmas themed, such as this one. There was crafts, there was how to decorate your Christmas tree, there was things to do with the kids during Christmas, all different kind of Christmassy activities that are included in this calendar. And because we've featured them in here, they want to share it, they want to link to it. So human ego means that if we're featured in something, we're more likely to share it or link to it. It's the exact same reason that we share the fact that we're involved in this link today. We want people to see us, we want people to come and watch the webinar. Everyone, if you're quoted in somewhere, you're probably going to share it and link to it if you get the chance. And then finally, events. So don't forget about offline. A lot of the time when we talk about, because we're talking about digital PR or content marketing, people just kind of go online, and all the assets I've shown you up until now and have been very focused on that. But offline creates a better experience for people, and it gives them a bit more to talk about. So if we give them some data in a nice asset, yes, they'll link to it for us, and that's lovely, and they might share their article. But if we create an event, we create a lot more opportunity for them to talk about us. And coming back to the other things that I said digital PR and content marketing can do in terms of brand loyalty, brand love, this helps a lot more with that, because people feel more of a connection to the brand or the products that you're looking at. So an example here is, we've done for Labrooks before, we've done Wimbledon parties and all different kinds of things. We send them a nice invite initially, we give them a nice dress code, so they tweet about what dress they're going to wear, they're Instagramming when they're getting ready. We have nice shareable food and drinks that they want to Instagram while they're there. And then ultimately afterwards, they want to write about it all together for their readers. So it gives us a lot more opportunities for someone to write about us than just the asset in itself. And you've got a good idea of kind of how many links or pieces of coverage you're likely to get, because you've got a certain number of people coming to an event. So thank you very much. That was my tactics that are working for us in 2016 and that we'll be continuing to use in 2017.
Thank you very much, Laura. I really appreciate your ideas, as far as it's really like, you know, close what is near and dear to my heart and what we do here in my agency. Well, partially, not all those, well, for sure, approaches, but we also do a lot of data-driven campaigns, because I'm certain that those kind of campaigns, when it comes to content marketing, they're much easier to pitch to journalists, bloggers, whatever it is, because they need numbers, and also it's just, you know, it shows that that's kind of content that primarily deserves to be linked to.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think we are ready to move to our next awesome presenter. And so let me introduce Mike Bryant. So Mike has joined digital marketing community and also simultaneously Page One Power team in 2014, which is actually will be 3 years ago. Because we are moving to the next year really close. And he is mostly specializing in coordinating online events, offline events, and he has lots of experience in doing that. But today, Mike is going to share, well, what sounds especially interesting to me, because I'd love to hear that as well. YouTube SEO success, a keyword case study. So thank you very much, Mike, for joining us. I'm super excited about your speech. And so could you please try to share your screen?
All right. Should be up now.
Yes, it is.
Can you see it?
Yeah, you're very welcome. Thank you very much.
All right. Can you hear me all right?
Yes, I do.
Hopefully it doesn't echo too much. Well, thank you, everybody, for tuning in. And to those of you watching the recorded version after the fact, my name is Mike Bryant, and you're about to go with me on a very strange trip. This is something that was new to me this year in 2016. And that is, we'll get to that, the case study that is. YouTube, however, is not new to me. Back in 2006, I was a hotel manager and streaming the timeline of MySpace, and up pops a link to a video that as soon as I saw the title, I knew I had to watch it. And so that was my first YouTube video that I can remember watching. There's all the other favorites, Charlie Bit Me, you know, and Chocolate Rain. I'm trying to think about 2006, 10 years ago. It's gone by fast. Anyways, Star Wars Kid, I watched this video at least 100 times and shared it at least 100 times on MySpace, of course. But then things changed quickly in that era, as if you don't already know. So a year later, I jumped on YouTube and started my own channel. and had no idea what I was doing. It was so random, and it was just basically family funny videos that shared with brothers and sisters and nieces and nephews. And then one of my videos, a weird video of a shoe collection, took off in 2008. Got 100,000 views in a couple months. And so then that's when I really started taking notice and just kind of studied it for about 4 years. And then started experimenting with my own, just sharing some of my graphic design and illustration stuff and Photoshop stuff, and just playing around within those communities, playing with keywords and tags, and just seeing what would happen. And it was a fun experiment. I spent a lot of 2012 playing around with some newsjacking techniques. But other places I like to hang out online, this is my eBay profile. Been a seller on eBay since 1999. One of my other favorites is TripAdvisor. Been a contributor here, writing reviews. My background in events comes from the hospitality industry. I used to host big conferences and conventions at hotels that I managed. And so TripAdvisor is near and dear to my heart. But let's go back to YouTube. So this is the home screen. This is a home screen you're looking at that is raw. You're not logged in, you're not signed in. So as you can see, you've got recommended videos, and it's broken down into categories. And I believe the categories here are probably from the videos that I've watched on the same IP address. So even though I'm not signed in, Google, YouTube, they're doing things right. They know that certain videos have been watched from this IP address, so they're still getting that recommendation in there that matches this location. So if you go to the next one, the trending page, this is where the marketers take over. As you can see, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 list videos, and no, 5. There is one in the thumbnail. So the trending videos, slightly different than the home page, but it just gives you a different view, gives you a little bit more information. You can read the entire title and a little snippet of the description. You can also see the view counts and how long it is, but the thumbnails look like they get a little bit bigger. But then when you go and sign in, things change even more. Once again, Google, YouTube, they've dialed this in. They're delivering to me based on my history, based on my subscriptions, a combination of the two. So I know I'm logged in because the first video up there is Star Wars. And so we've got some Rogue One trailers, Saturday Night Live, and one of my longest subscriptions to Gary Vaynerchuk. And but let's see what the next screen looks like. They've added one. So you've got the subscription screen. We'll look at that next. So here on the left, I've got a list of all my subscriptions. And this is the work-related channel. So you go up to the top, you see more some familiar faces for the Digital Olympus crowd. We've got some SEMrush, Stone Temple, and over here you got BuzzSumo. And I was invited to an event from BuzzSumo a couple weeks ago. I didn't get the chance to attend. I think it was a webinar broadcast of some sort. So with my subscription, I can go back, watch that content. But here's what we're going to talk about today. You're watching content. This is the desktop version. Mobile is a little bit different. The suggested videos kind of scroll along the bottom, and they might pop up if you pause. And then they also pop up at the end of the play of the video. But on desktop, we can see that all the suggested videos are on the right-hand column. And then in the last couple of years, YouTube started by default turning on the autoplay for the next recommended video. So if you let that sit at the end of Secrets of Link-Worthy Content by BuzzSumo and Steve Racin's crew, what's going to happen next is this next video at the top of the list is automatically going to start playing. But what they do is they mix it in with that top trending content, also stuff that's based on your view history. But then it's kind of sprinkled in. Here's some more BuzzSumo down as we get down lower. And if you scroll below the fold, there's even more BuzzSumo content. So I look at this as an interesting way for content to be delivered. YouTube is kind of a world in it of itself. It's also a tool. It's also an entertainment platform. It's also a live event platform as we're using it here today. So it serves multiple purposes. And for us as marketers, agencies, helping clients, we also use it for different purposes. So then we're gonna slam on the brakes real quick because this gets us into the case study. If you go not signed in, incognito or private browsing and search Spider-Man in YouTube, this is what the result is. So the first video has somebody dressed up in Elsa in a little kid's Jeep at what is supposed to be a drive-through window. It says McDonald's in the title. That doesn't look like a McDonald's to me. Then you've got a stop motion animation with some Play-Doh, and then that in a shopping cart. And I'm not going to ask what that is. Down here, you've got a kid dressed up like a cop and a Joker, and there's no visible sign of Spider-Man anywhere. And this is the top search result for Spider-Man. That's what I'm saying. We're stepping into a world that is still uncharted. And this is basically a superhero and princess genre that exists. And it's not underground, but it is because it's so huge, but it's not talked about a lot. And the reason I'm giving this as an example is just because weird things happen and keywords rule. Spider-Man and Elsa from the movie Frozen, they are the dynamic duo that rule this kingdom. Most of the video content is silent films with little sound effects and background music. The consistency and the theme is always, like, the majority of it is meant for children entertainment. All of it is not, but the majority of it is. And the videos that are cranked out are at a very high frequency. The average is about 5 videos per week. And a channel, this is what I basically am theorizing in this case study, is that a channel in this genre can become self-sustaining in views and showing up in the recommended video column on the right-hand side in as little as 7 weeks' time. And there is a relation back to what we do for our day job, and that is the fact here that the YouTube search ranking is really not a key factor in any of this. It's all related to suggested videos that come on the sidebar or after the video finishes in that automatic playlist. So my case study is on this channel. It's called Kids Cooking and Crafts. This is a channel my sister started up in late June, but I don't think her first video was published until the very beginning of July. So for my reporting, I started it July 1st through November 30th, covering 5 months of history on this channel. And as you can see, you've got Elsa and Spider-Man, and you've got some other characters in there, and Superman's mixed in. You got some Batman, some holiday themes. But let's get to the details. The first month, July, starts off kind of slow. They're doing a lot of work to get these videos viewed by as many people as they can. So you can see that the little peak here is 3,000 views in one day towards the end of July. So from you know, compared to Page One Power's YouTube channel, that's pretty good. But in this world, that's just getting started. It's very small potatoes. So second month, let's see if we can go back. There we go. I might be missing a slide. Anyways, we want to find out where this traffic, sorry, I've changed the order of these. Traffic sources is vital in getting to know your YouTube channel. Study your traffic sources, find out where your current traffic is coming from, and from that you can determine if there's room for improvement or a need for change. And so here we see YouTube search is down at the bottom, placing 5th. That first 2 weeks of July, not really doing much for them. Most of their views are coming from video cards and annotations, and that was from a lot of help from other channels, collaborating together, and suggested videos is in second place, and not even 2/3 of what the top portion is. So then second month, still kind of steady pace, but it's still slow. You can see it peaks, the marker there is at 5,000 views. Follow along with me because it's about to change real quick. At the end of this second month, we hit week 7 and we see our first spike. And then at the end of the 8th week, we see a spike of 627,000 views in one day. And so that to me, you know, I was following along and watching the view counts as my sister and her family would make these videos and post them, you know, 5 a week. And I'd refresh, you know, every day, go back and look at these numbers. It fascinated me. And when I saw this spike, I called my sister and I was just drilling her with questions like, where did these come from? Where did these come from? So back again to the traffic sources. And now we see that instead of the annotations and iCards, suggested videos has taken the #1 spot for traffic. And if you drill down on traffic source for suggested videos, you can see the top 5 videos that are responsible for your suggestions being clicked on and viewed, or just being autoplayed. And so there's these 2 videos that I've circled down here. They're from other channels, and the first one is this girl, and she opens a children's cooking toy. And the strange thing is, you know, look at that title. There's a whole lot of weird stuff going on in that title. The description probably more so. And then you see the suggested videos on the side, all from different channels, but following the same model of this genre. Very similar loud color, you know, thumbnails and titles that are just jam-packed full of these characters, as using the character names as their keywords. So the second video that's referring traffic or getting suggested videos to my sister's channel is this one, and it's about a gift that Elsa receives from Spider-Man. This is an animated channel instead of live action, and a little bit different style. I don't really know much about it. But then we see the top referring video as time goes on through the month of August. It becomes a video on their own channel. So if we go and take a look at that, this is their most popular video. This is the one that spiked in August, and it got its views from those previous 2. And now that this one is trending within this genre, you see over here on the right, up at the top, their second best video is next up on this auto playlist. And then you go down a couple more spots, and their newest video is in this auto playlist. So Google YouTube algorithm is saying, if you like this content, here, watch their next best video. And if you like that, here's their newest video, which they, you know, is just a couple days ago. So keep that in mind. It's going to come in handy later when we get to more practical applications. So all of this is the spike patterns after 5 months. This is what happened to their traffic. So mid-August, it took off, and then it just started spiking depending on which videos did better. Then it kind of leveled off a little bit, very competitive. And I think it was just the time of year that there was just more content being put out. So it kind of just leveled the playing field. And then we got another huge spike that just happened last week. So 29 million views in 5 months' time. So let's get to real life. This is my formula that's kind of theorized from looking at these numbers. And the fact is, they've taken a trending topic or that particular genre. They've gone out and they've looked at competitors' content, specific keywords, names, what they're using in their description. And then they've also, there's some great tools out there like vidiq.com where you can basically just scrape the tags right off your competitors' videos and see, what you want to use for your own videos. But this is basically a skyscraper technique. You're taking the best of the best within your category. You're putting your own spin on it. Like my sister, she put a craft cooking spin on hers. She wanted to give it a little bit more purpose. She wanted to make it a little educational because most of it is pretty mind numbing. And if you ever see your kids staring at your phone, watching YouTube or whatever it is that they stream on, chances are they're probably watching some of this stuff. Then once you make it your own, see what your competition is doing, make it better. And I think the easiest way to make something better is making it more relevant to your audience, answering those pain points, those questions that your audience might have, but then also updating it, giving it a modern twist. If the past leader in your category is out of date, maybe their last real winner video is a year old, that's a good point where you can step in and kind of cherry pick. So that's basically the theory from the success of this channel. But suggested videos, once the channel got started and gained its own momentum on its own videos, other features in YouTube started kicking in. The browse features, as you see down here, is second. A little over 50% of the views are coming from browse features. And I told you at the beginning to pay attention or remember that home page. The home page is very important. When you're signed into YouTube, anybody that is signed in watching videos from this channel, they are now responsible for 8.7 million views on this channel, all coming from the homepage. That means they watch a video on Saturday, they come back to YouTube the next day, and there's new suggested videos from the same channel on their homepage waiting for them. Maybe it's the newest upload, maybe it's the most popular. The algorithm kind of shuffles that around from day to day. So, like I said, just remembering the homepage of what I'm looking at on a day-to-day basis, this is where a third or 30% of their views are coming from. So lastly, going back to search, that's what a lot of us deal with day in and day out with SEO. I wanted to still look at the details of search. It was a very small percentage, but still important. Number one search term leading people to this channel is Spider-Man, and then Frozen, and then an Arabic word, I'm guessing. I don't know exactly. Then there's an unknown, and then you got Spider-Man. So I wanted to know, I just cut and paste that foreign language word that I couldn't read, put it into Google Translate, and it is Spiderma. And as you can see with the links below, means Spider-Man, same thing. just a different language. They're capitalizing on foreign markets. Like I said, these are children videos that have no words, they're silent, and so it appeals to a big international audience. So let's get practical. How much time do I have? All right. Page One Power. I've been looking at this channel for a couple of years now. We use it as a tool primarily just to deliver content to our subscriber list, to our webinar attendees. Not much more than that at this point. We have developed some assets that have proven to be valuable over the past life of this channel, 5 years. So when you look at the traffic source, like I said, that would be my ¡1 suggestion for anybody that manages a YouTube channel for your own company or for a client. Most of our traffic comes from external views, and we know exactly where all that is sourced out of our email marketing and embedded on our blog, recap posts and our webinar resource page. Then you've got suggested videos as number 2. And I thought that was interesting. That is where most of the traffic was coming from, the crazy Spider-Man videos. Then YouTube search, which is great to see that we're getting such a large percentage from that. So that means that we are doing a few things right, although it is a much smaller quantity. The percentages still teach us a lot of information. So I wanted to find out if this suggested video thing was the same situation as over on Spider-Man and Elsa World, and I found that this #1 suggested video that's bringing traffic to our channel is a beginner tutorial about how to use Majestic for SEO. And it's by Powered by Search. That's their channel name. I'm not familiar with them, but great tutorial. And look, right on the right-hand column, there's our video, a webinar that we did with Majestic a few years ago. And then we got the Google making sure that I don't miss out on any trending videos, giving me Dave Chappelle's interview with and talking about his first encounter with Kanye West. Very important stuff. So then you come back to that previous screen and you go down to the 4th spot, and there is our own video feeding suggested videos to our channel. And by that I mean, when you go to our video, this is our video with the most views on our channel. It's humble, I know, but over on the right-hand side, we've got videos from competitors on the similar topics, but then you also have our newest video and this one down here, which is from our top 5. Might be even our top 3. But once again, Google's algorithm is doing the work for you as long as you have content to fill those spots. Remember back in the first slide with the BuzzSumo video, there was 4 or 5 other recommended videos, all from the same BuzzSumo channel. So my challenge is get out there, make some videos, try this formula for 8 weeks, figure out what your competition's doing, go after one of their top videos, create something similar, and then continue to make video content. If this is something that you're interested in, I challenge you to try this out, get back to me in February, and prove me wrong with what your results are. So that's probably past my time. Thank you very much. That's my sister. I tripped her and gave her black eyes. And that was in the 80s. So.
Thank you very much, Mike. Actually, I'm quite interested in trying some of your strategies as far as we have our YouTube channel. We are not so ambitious in order on getting so much subscribers and views, but at least just improving a bit our situation. That's something that we were just looking for. As far as I'm not really good in YouTube marketing. So I just, found for myself a couple of things that I'd love to try. So I'll definitely be back to you. sure some of our listeners, they will be interested in coming back to you and sharing their thoughts and ideas. And I think we are ready to move to our next speaker. And I have a pleasure to introduce Michael Stricker. And he's going to talk about the 4 riders of the, oh my gosh, apocalypse conversion rate optimization. That should be, well, you know, an exciting one as far as it's just, you know, it has such interesting topic. And so, well, first of all, I think I know Michael for a quite long time, and actually we were colleagues back those days at SEMrush. And I know, well, you know, how Mike is really into SEO, digital marketing. He is a great speaker, and he was involved in the number of great events like SMX, PPC Hero, PopCon, and so, well, he's right now a frequent speaker, and he has a huge range of expertise in digital marketing, and he knows how to build a successful strategy and to make it really actionable. So thank you very much, Mike, for joining us. Could you please share your screen so we can be sure that everything is fine?
Sharing now. And thanks for that great intro. I appreciate that. That was very kind of you.
You're very welcome. Okay, so yeah, can you make it wider? The only thing.
Yep, I need to go to full screen on this, so
yeah,
should be a button push, and
yes,
how's that?
Awesome.
Okay, all right. Thanks for the intro. Then I'm going to jump in. Alexandra, thanks for the nice intro. Laura did a great job. It's always good to hear other perspectives on link building, and especially the content that she brought up. Mike Bryant did a great job of introducing the thought that if you want to rank on YouTube, it had to do with interests and possibly the inclusion of all of these different mentions of brands and characters and things in the titles that were making these things rank well, at least for people who were specifically looking for that. And who knew that the princess from Frozen and Spider-Man were an item. So Mike, thanks. Thanks for that. But I can imagine that if you have sons and daughters and they want to watch something on your iPad, having something with a little something for both of them, awesome stuff. So I'm kind of guessing at what drives that interest, but you know, thanks for all of that. So I wanted to choose a topic with some drama. Typically at the end of the year, we're starting to think about 2017. People are starting to put out their posts about what to do next year, thinking about what they've done in the past year that may have worked and may have not worked so well. And I was invited to talk about conversion rate optimization. And so I thought, what could I do that would be the most dramatic thing that would express the things that I found to be the most important in 2016, things that I will carry forward into 2017. Got a nice intro from Alexandra, so I don't need to dwell on my bio, some of the things that I've done, places that I've spoken. But the topic is how to conversion rate optimize like there's no tomorrow. And that's the reason why I'm choosing the 4 riders of the apocalypse. It's a biblical theme. It signals the end times. It's the end of the world. How to convert like it's the end of the world, because for digital marketers, conversion is the end. It is the end product. You have to attract the right traffic, have the right offers, get people to move down the funnel so that you can convert them. If you're not going to convert them, it is the end of the world. Doesn't matter what's come before, you really have to do this. So who are the 4 riders of the apocalypse? I'll use this to break down the approaches that I would discuss. War, famine, plague, and death. What a cheerful topic, right? But if you stick with me, you're going to find out why I chose these angles. So starting with, you know, with these topics, I want to tell you how to succeed. You're either going to be a rider of the apocalypse yourself and dominate, or you're going to fend off the end of the world. You can win the war. You can feed the famine that you may have with regard to incoming traffic and attracting the right traffic that will convert. You can pound the plague, all right? The plague, what is troubling you? What's making your results sickly? What are you going to do about it? And you can cheat death. So death is, you're not going to get the conversions. You're not even getting traffic to begin with. And what could be worse? So you're going to cheat death. I'm going to start with win the war. And so typically, you know, coming from where I do SEO, having worked at SEMrush, thinking about those tools and the kind of insights that they give you, if you want to convert, you want the traffic around high commercial intent terms. So you've probably heard people discuss intent before, informational intent at the top of the funnel, navigational intent in the middle of the funnel when people are starting to think about brand names and making comparisons and qualifications, and finally, transactional intent expressed in keywords. How do you find these things? Well, commercial intent for SEM purposes and AdWords, okay, would be measured by Google's AdWords keyword tool in terms of CPC, cost per click. The idea being, if the auction that is SEM, that is AdWords, if the auction is bidding up these keywords, they have high commercial intent. They're delivering an actionable audience that is converting. And so, of course, it's going to cost you more to go after those keywords. Semantically, though, you can discover these keywords, and I'm using that phrase loosely. You can discover these keywords through SEMrush, where you're going to look deep into a phrase report. By the time you get deep into it, you're going to start seeing longer and longer tail terms. Now, longer tail terms cost more in search engine marketing and AdWords, but for SEO, this is where the gold lies. If you go and you find the long tail terms and they start to look like full sentences, and they include the 5 W's, who, what, when, where, and why, you're going to start to get at things that are middle of funnel and possibly bottom of funnel. And there's tools to help you find these keywords. You've got to work with them, or you're not going to attract the traffic that's going to convert. But we're talking about war here, all right? And war is you against your competitors, your foes. And let's face the facts. It is about business. It is about conversion. It's about revenue. It's about who's going to win. So it's not just the clicks, but the actual whipping out of the credit card. So what are you going to do? You're going to find your competitors' productive keywords, not just their keywords right off the top, but the ones that are really driving them traffic, and then use this idea of intent to find the ones that are converting for them. And one of the most effective ways you can do this is to actually invoke your competitor's brand. So did I really say mofo? I'm not sure I really wanted to do that. Brand jack like a mofo. So you're going to use your competitor's brand. You're going to attract traffic that might already be qualifying different brands for their purposes, sort of middle of the funnel. And one of the most effective ways to do this, it turns out, is in search engine marketing, in AdWords. So if you were to use your competitor's brand name, you can run your ads, and it's going to cost you a little more because you'll never be as relevant for the brand name as the brand owner. But it can be a killer technique. And here's Ford, a huge US auto brand, being pounded by Chevy. So Chevy takes the #1 ad position for the search term Ford Fusion. This was pointed out by Lori Wyman. She's a great writer and always has some really interesting stuff about search engine marketing and especially AdWords. But here we see at the top of the search for Ford Fusion is an ad from Chevy. And it says in the title, compare Chevy Malibu, which is their competitive model to the Ford Fusion. It says, get responsive, solid handling with this car. And they win the top spot. Now, this probably cost them a bit of money, but you could see this happening for multiple models of cars and trucks, where Chevy could own the top spot for searches for Ford. It could be swiping some serious conversion traffic, because it turns out that when people are shopping for cars, a recent stat I saw said they only visit like 3 web pages. Now, that's very interesting because this is a high ticket purchase and a very considered purchase. And yet they're only going to maybe make like 3 searches or so. You definitely want to be there at the top. So Lori points out, and this is a good point, when you use your competitor's brand in your ads, in AdWords, use it in the URL, which you can see in this ad here at the top. They do. It says Chevrolet.com/Ford Fusion. So they use the keyword in the display URL, but they don't use it in the title, which is the blue line, right? And they don't use it in the description, which would make it a trademark infringement possibly. So they skirt that, they get it in the URL, stuff works. Moving on. Brand jacking, you're going to invoke third parties and legitimate comparisons. You're not going to want to invoke your brand, your competitor's brand in a taunting way. What you want to do is you want to help the user who wants to compare. After you discover you've got an issue and you're thinking about a possible solution, the next step is to think about who provides the solution, who are you going to purchase from? And this is from the consumer's point of view. So as the advertiser's point of view, you want to give them the information they need to make the right decision. And of course, the right decision is you. One of the best things that you can do, especially in a B2B, business to business space, is to compare your brand's services or products with the competition. But do you want to compare it, or would it be more credible if a third person, another party, did this? And turns out, yes. Here we see for a search for Pardot, or Pardot, however you choose to say it, marketing automation software brand, Marketo takes the top spot for Pardot, paying for this ad, where they are promoting a vendor comparison. The vendor comparison title includes their brand name, big brand awareness there, and the URL you see contains the competitor's brand. It's in the URL. So they're going to achieve a high level of relevance for this. But of course, they don't include the competitor's brand in either the title or the description. So there you go. There's a paid way of doing this. And they get in here, but what they're promoting is a piece of content. Now, you know, this is even more costly than a car in the end. Marketing automation software can run into, you know, multiple tens of thousands of dollars, and you may purchase it and run it for years because it takes time to get up, and you make an investment in people to support the platform. But what they're pushing is Gartner's vendor analysis of 14 different vendors. Well, if Marketo is pushing this, and they are the largest in the field, you can bet they're the #1 platform being promoted here. But chances are they engaged the services of Gartner, right, to do this study to begin with. And of course, the questions that are chosen sometimes in these kinds of studies are meant to make particular brands perhaps look a little better than another. It's from a third party. It's paid. It's a paid piece of content. But they came out on top, and now they're promoting that content. There's other ways of slicing this biscuit, but people are going to believe it more if it comes from a third party. So that's paid. Let's talk about organic methods to brand jack. There's a piece that Chad Pollitt did, worked for Relevance, and what he did was he charted out searches for brands, and he kind of came at it with these two kind of conflicting results. The results were that when you use branded keyword phrases, they are 3.5 times more likely to convert to leads. So whether you choose your own brand or the brand of another, if you use those brands well on the page and people are searching for that and they find your result for those keywords, those brand words, they're more likely to convert. Well, okay, makes sense. They're kind of middle of the funnel and they're being comparative. But he went through all of the non-branded keywords and he took the ones that didn't convert at all out of the set. So what he ended up with was a nucleus of keywords, much, much smaller than the site was attracting traffic for to begin with. And by limiting the set that he was looking at to the most effective and the ones that were converting, these keywords on a whole were 10 times more likely to convert. So, you know, non-branded keywords can kill. Have to be the right ones. They have to be closely tied to the interests of people who are in the shopping mode, in the selection mode, answering their questions. So here's some results of a similar vein around brand jacking, around using brand names, and specifically, this is from a Neil Patel article. I know a friend of mine from SEM Rush days, Eric Van Buskirk, may have contributed some effort to this post. It's a database post titled "How to Rank for Your Competitors' Keywords: What We Learned by Analyzing 62.6 Million E-commerce Keywords." Well, that's huge volume of data. So what did they find out? So initially, right off the top, we see keywords that included the brand and the word review, and keywords in the right column that included non-review keywords, but still included the brand. And what do we see when the word review is included as a modifier to the brand? You see the keyword difficulty go down a bit, and you see the median cost per click more than double. So what I'm going to say is that in these charts, I'm going to show you one after this, in these charts that CPC is going to be a proxy or approximate commercial intent. It's going to approximate the value that you could get by using these particular keywords in terms of conversion. The idea that people, brands, et cetera, will bid for high CPC keywords because they are, in the end, more effectively converted. So if we look here and you see using the word review works with the brand name, then this is a clue. Modifiers can help. If we go a little further, we brand jack with care, because it's not just about the brand, it's about other things that you will do. Top chart, non-branded keywords versus branded keywords. So we see similar keyword difficulty, but for cost per click, the keywords with brand have a higher cost per click and therefore are more likely to convert using the proxy we were talking about. And competitive density, which I don't want to spend a lot of time talking about, but think about Google's results. It's a little gray type at the top of any search, and it says there are this many pages that are deemed relevant for this term. A lower competitive density can mean that there's opportunity there for you because there's not so much content to rank against. Frankly, I think that when you start getting up into the millions of results, it kind of loses some of its meaning, but it can be an indicator that maybe for something new, it might be easier to get through the pack and to the front of attention. At the bottom table pictured here, we have non-branded keywords versus branded keywords versus yet another modifier. And this modifier is very effectively tied to conversion, the word coupon, right? So when we look at this, we see that the difficulty is very similar among them. Might be a little easier to use non-branded keywords, but is that really where you want to go? Probably not. Because when we get into the cost per click, the sign that there are transactions behind the use of these keywords that you can attract prospects, the highest cost keywords are going to be the brands with the word coupon. Okay, so for SEM, that's an expensive proposition, but likely to pay off in ROI. For SEO, this is a major win, because if I can generate traffic around the word coupon with brand, I am going to attract traffic at a much lower cost per visitor than I would be spending for, for SEM. So competitive density, again, thinking not the most important factor in my mind. However, coupon keywords and branded keywords have a lower competitive density than non-branded keywords in this case. So might be interesting to check out this post and its results. In the end, my own experience mixed with that says you're going to brand jack and you're going to use helpful utility modifiers, especially for purposes of SEO, but also for your PPC. You can invoke your competitor's brand especially easily when you say it's brand A versus brand B. It's Marketo versus Pardot. It's Nike versus Adidas. You can use the word comparison. People love to compare. So some version of the word compare works very well. People who are perched on the edge of a buying action love to have social trust. They like to see that others have had a good purchase experience with this brand. And so they're looking for ratings, reviews, and testimonials. These are awesome for attracting traffic when you use these in conjunction with brand names, these words. And also OfferPop did a study that showed how massively effective it is to use user-generated content in this form in your material, in your ads, on your landing pages. It's just great stuff to use. And then anything that indicates that the intent of the searcher is going to be to buy. They're looking for things cheap. They're looking for coupons, discounts, codes, those kinds of words. You want to see those in your content and used in your titles and descriptions and et cetera to get that kind of traffic. Yay. So we've been through win the war, and now we're going to move on. This is kind of a dramatic thing. How to CRO like there's no tomorrow. Feed the famine. Next writer of the apocalypse is famine, and what are you going to do? You're going to feed it. And the idea here is that you could have a famine on your site. You could have a famine of converting traffic. You're not getting the transactions on the site like you think you should. It's post-holiday. Maybe there's a little lull. But really, your highly engaged customers are going to bring you 3 times the value of others. And that includes other back because they already trusted you. How much more action? Each customer is going to buy 90% more frequently. And they're going to spend 60.
Mike, I'm sorry, we are just, kind of having a gaps in sound. I don't know, it's like kind of a chirpy. Can you say something?
Yeah, testing.
Yeah, right now it's good. I'm sorry for interrupting you. Really sorry about that.
That's okay. You just let me know if there's any other problems. That's fine. So that's average order value when we talk about how much people are spending in each transaction. And of course, so what I'm saying here is you can feed your famine by fishing within your own barrel. You can get more wins by going after your own list. And so we see this kind of quotation, and here it's given from Rosetta, part of Publicis, but prospects are 7 times more responsive to promotions after a brand interacts meaningfully, right? So this isn't a matter of spamming people and remarketing them endlessly and blindly following them around. This is figuring out what they want and giving it to them, and that, making sure that they understand that what your intent is to help. Selling never helps, helping sells. It's a nice little way to kind of remember this. And so you do want to remarket, of course, because remarketing is killer for conversion. I've seen figures stating that, as soon as you start remarketing, it's going to be so effective that you're going to be amazed. But be aware also that remarketing may suck some of the conversions out of your other attributed channels and such. So you may attract the traffic, they may visit the site, a particular page or something, you do a good job, you may close them, but you may also exhaust the demand, right? So you may have to do a better job at the top of the funnel and attract more and acquire more traffic, so you have more to remarket to. And that's a particular kind of famine as well, attracting traffic, acquiring traffic in the first place, looking at your sources and media, figuring out how to get that traffic in, because you may remarket so effectively that you close everybody who's on the fence and thinking about it, and now who's going to come to your site next? So also keeping in mind that you want to remarket specifically, not blindly. This needs to happen in a real effective way with a specific relevant offer to what people are doing. Resubscription, supplies for what they've already purchased, accessories to go, bought a Burberry coat, how about a scarf to go with that? And do this, you can now do this in Google, display and search ads with a 540-day term on the list. So add that person to the list. You can be in there for 540 days. You can come back in a year, hello, SaaS software with subscriptions, and you can say, hey, your year is almost up. Now you need to think about resubscribing. So retention, all about cross-sell, upsell, and discount. Referrals, people love to be invited to a beta test or a special event, as Laura was talking about in the PR world. Don't give them free software necessarily, but give them trials or something to dispense to other people who trust them, right? It's great ideas. Loyalty, you want to win their loyalty, keep their acquaintance, engage with them over their anniversary. Hi, you've had us for 3 years. You know, come shop with us again. Hi, it's your birthday. Thanks for sharing your birth date with us. Here's a little gift, or come into the store to redeem. Survey, Laura pointed out, people love quizzes, surveys, all of that activation device stuff gets people closer to conversion. If you can get somebody to click on one thing, no matter how silly or inane, they are more likely to click for the final. And then here's the killer, and you've probably heard this a bunch of different ways. It costs 6 or 7 times more for companies to attract new customers than to keep existing. So if you want to feed the famine, do your best job with your existing customers. Start from day one, keep winning them over and over. It's your gold list. How to convert like there's no tomorrow. On the plague. All right, so moving on to the plague. What's a plague? A plague is a disease. A plague is a widespread viral disease. And here, you know, we're going to talk about measles. Boy, that was a nasty picture. Sorry about that. Well, what are measles when it comes to conversion rate optimization? Measles are when somebody has run away on their pages, on their site, with ideas of ways to get a conversion. So a designer comes in, says, oh, you know, I've designed your website and we have a click to call number at the top, which will work great in mobile. And we have this big button in the middle of the slider to get people to convert. It's awesome. Oh, and by the way, you know, other conversions, you know, we added a red area for contact because we want people to give you their contacts. And we've got 2 very strong pieces of content that we would love for people to react on. And we have some other methods of conversion, including, you know, laying the groundwork for fundamental change of what's that going to take, you know, get in touch with us. And then, oh yeah, we want people to download some more case studies and testimonials. Let's do some more of that. Let's get started on customized solutions. So get in touch with us now. And hey, but, you know, we'd love to watch this video. And by the way, here's our form. You could get a book. And you know, how about subscribing to our blog and, you know, some other stuff. So in the end, 14 conversion goal actions, conversions, micro conversions, count them up, 14 on a page. Clean it up. When your page has measles or too many choices and options, your viewers, your prospects are going to end up with what is often called analysis paralysis. They're going to look at it, and what you're doing by giving too many choices is you're giving the viewer permission to put off the decision. You have to force a decision, but you have too many distractions. You're leading people away from the page where they should really convert. It lacks urgency, right? It like, I have a webinar. Well, hey, you have to attend the webinar, or you can watch the recording. Well, that kind of softens it, right? Put a date on it, put a deadline on it, put a timer on it that says time runs out. Scarcity. People love scarcity in the sense that this may not be available next year. Your price may go up next year. This is not available to everybody. You have to be a company with 50 employees or more. So imply scarcity, and it's going to make people more likely to act on it. That's one of the primary ways of motivating people. So how do you fix this? Inoculate your landing pages against the measles by reducing options, simplify, cut out distractions, add urgency, hawk your scarcity. I had a client I didn't really spend a whole lot of time on, but I gave them a quick review of their pages, and we started a test. We ran some heat mapping, et cetera. We said, here, we need to simplify all of this. And they grudgingly agreed to run a test, and we changed one of their landing pages. And immediately, within the first week, turned around and got 1,100% increase in conversions. Now, wasn't that hard to do, and we were prepared to run this for at least a month and possibly two to get a statistically significant volume of traffic. The client called us up at the end of the first week and said, whatever you did, do it more. Do this to the rest of the pages based on insignificant volumes of traffic moving across the page because they really boosted their conversions. So that works. Finally, cheat death. I know I'm running out of time here, so I'm going to just blast through this as rapidly as possible. Talking about death, you got to cheat death. You are either in the conversion world quick or you are dead. And Ollie Gardner came and spoke at SEER in Philly, and I kind of surprised him when I said, okay, where is page speed in your newly planned tool? I know you're adding all kinds of stuff to the tool. And he said, well, that's coming. You need to pay attention to your speed. User experience requires your page to be faster. Conversions and average order value all go up when your page is faster. So what's the status? 77% of web pages take up to 10 seconds to load. So there's double click. I mean, that's absurd. Google, when Maila Oya, and I'm probably mangling her name, when she spoke, she said 2 to 3 second page load times have the lowest bounce rate. Google knows that user experience is improved on faster pages, and they're pushing it hard. So you have to listen. What is especially urgent about this is that we know that there's a mobile first index coming from Google. We know that Google knows as well, mobile traffic has surpassed desktop. Mobile search has surpassed desktop. And mobile, though, because you squirt stuff, across the cell networks, 3G, even 4G, it can double or even triple in some cases the amount of time it takes your page to transfer and load and view. So you really have to pay attention. And what's the result? If you're not paying attention, a 1 second delay drives people off your page. And what's the cost? If you're making $100,000 a day from an e-com site, you could lose $2.5 million a year based on a 1 second delay. I can't overstress this. So you've got to cheat death. You've got to have page speed. Give up the page speed, she elf. Right? If you want it, come and claim it. You've got to go after this yourself. Here's a number of tools to test. The topmost one is a very easy, very visually attractive page that's put up by Google. testmysite.thinkwithgoogle.com. The results are so visually interesting and simple that you can share this directly with a client and you can start talking about it and dive deeper, get an email or go into their developer pages to find out what specifically you could be fixing on yours or your client's site to make it faster. Firebug has plugins for page speed. Web Developer is an old browser plugin, works great if you happen to be on Firefox maybe instead of Chrome. You have to be aware that these tools should look at the mobile version of the page. The topmost Google one does. There's ways of getting the Firebug plugin to work. With your mobile device, you can actually wire your iPhone to your laptop and get the results from your mobile phone. If you use webpagetest.org, it has a way of setting up what crawler you use, what device, and what network. So you can get some pretty good results, very, very telling. I've had an e-com client who had some pretty dismal results, even after they tried to use Cloudflare caching and things that were just killing their conversions, killing the traffic on their site, and in the end, probably killing the way Google regarded them, because part of this issue included nested redirects. You know, lots of issues, solve them all. CRO like there's no tomorrow. So thanks for the time. I appreciate being here. I hope you got something out of it.
Thank you very much, Mike. It was a great presentation. I love your actionable tips as well as, like, you know, your examples, especially that was, like, you know, about PPC campaigns. And yeah, I'm sure that our listeners are definitely appreciating that information. So it was really, really good, and it was just kind of really strategical approach to that. So guys, we are just a bit running out of time. So I have one question to you all that was, like, you know, we selected from just, you know, from our Twitter account. So, like, you know, the question is, so please, like, each of you, like, think about that. So I'm asking about the very, very best strategy you've ever tried, used, and you've just, you know, you found as really successful, and yeah, as well as why. So I don't know who are ready to start and share that, you know, that's kind of a great strategy.
So a strategy for conversion?
Whatever it is, it might be like link building, conversion, so anything, what you think, just, you know, relevant to your expertise as well as relevant to what you do.
Okay. I mean, I'm just going to say that anytime I have bothered to learn more about customers, to talk to them directly, to build personas from talking to them about what their problems and issues are, I always come away with the best ideas for content and the best ideas for conversion. So, you know, the idea that Laura does PR-based link building, builds content, invites the journalists to come and actually talks to them at events that they have, you know, makes them relax and have a good time, and then talks to them. All of that is very awesome firsthand information. And so I guess what I'm saying is, if I spend too much time in tools trying to figure out from the data what's happening, I lose touch with the customers.
Thank you very much, Mike. It was, like, you know, a really great tip. So, and I'm sure a lot of digital marketers, they're going to follow it and just, you know, take advantage of it. So what about you, Mike?
I'm going to go into the webinar world, and 2016, we learned a lot. What the most important thing we learned was listening to feedback, asking for feedback directly after each webinar, taking that back to our content meetings and discussing how we can make changes. And we've come to a point where our webinar presentations are practical, and also just more live. You know, we have stepped away from kind of the slideshow presentation and done more demonstration webinar broadcasts, and that has been very helpful. We've seen great feedback, and I think it puts people on the same level and kind of gets it, you know, answers the questions of what their, you know, what pain points they have and struggles and challenges, and we do our best to turn around and speak to those.
Thank you very much, Mike. I definitely agree that you need to speak with your, like, you know, your audience, and that the primary source of, like, you know, data and getting into their problems, and just, you know, creating the right content for them. And that's just, you know, the very right approach to do that, as well as, like, you know, paying attention to conversions and just, you know, connecting everything and putting it all together. So thank you very much, guys, for being with us today. And thank you very much for joining Digital Olympus. I really appreciate that. And without you, it's not going to be so much fun and so much knowledge. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, Laura, you were just, you know, I thought you were muted all that time. So that's why I'd love to hear your strategy as well. I'm sorry. Just,
oh, no, that's fine. Mine would probably be thinking about all the different avenues for campaigns. So just kind of what I was talking about, not just thinking of one kind of niche of sites to go to with a campaign, but thinking about carving the data or the campaign up and thinking about all the different places you can go to. So national sites, regional sites, industry sites, different types of blogs, and kind of starting from that point of where do we want to be and then making sure you create enough to make sure you can get kind of maximum opportunities from it.
Okay, lovely. Thank you very much for sharing. I'm really sorry, just, you know, to moving. I just, you know, that's evening here. So thank you very much, guys, one more time, and hope to see you in our next editions. And you're just simply awesome. Thank you. See you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.